Well, good morning, church. It is so good to be with you guys this morning. I want to welcome you. I want to welcome those of you at our Prescott Valley location as well. Welcome. So glad that you get to join us this morning. I hope you guys had an incredible Thanksgiving. I hope you didn't fight with your families too much. Some of you laughed because that's not true. That's not what happened at your gathering. But man, we're just so glad that we made it through Thanksgiving. And now I can officially say Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you guys. Some of you, though, you've been celebrating for a while, right? Because you break the laws that God set in place that you're supposed to wait till after Thanksgiving. And you know my stance on that. I'm not okay with that. But this year was a little different. My wife and I decided that this year we were going to get our kids for Christmas their very first puppy. And so we were searching and we're going to find this puppy and we want to get this puppy for our kids. And so we finally found a puppy, but they said, you got to take it now. And so we took the puppy about a week ago and we brought the kids together and we're like, okay, I know we're not supposed to celebrate till after Thanksgiving, but we got to break our own rule. Here's your Christmas present right now. And so this is what he looks like. This is him. Yeah, he's absolutely adorable. The kids lost their mind. They love him so much. And here's the thing. He's half poodle, half chihuahua, okay? I don't know how that happened. I try not to think about it. But that's what he is. And I don't know what he's going to look like when he gets older. And so I had to Google, and I'm like, what's he going to look like, right? And so, this is option one. There's two very clear options, okay? This is option one. He could be super cute, and this is option two. Okay, so, it's a flip of the coin, all right? We don't know what's going to happen here. It could be this mangy little guy, or it could be really cute. You can go ahead and take that down, man. But you know what? Christmas is an exciting time, and we love Christmas here at Heights. Christmas is a big deal, and here's why, because Christmas is good news. Christmas is good news, and we get to proclaim that good news this Christmas, and we're excited about this good news. So as we walk through Advent, as we lead up to Christmas, as we lead up to this good news, we're going to be talking over the next couple weeks about what we as a church can do to prepare for Christmas, to prepare for the good news, right? That's what Advent is it's preparing for what's coming, which is Christmas, which is this good news that we get to proclaim. So we as a church get to step into that and be a part of what God is doing as we lead up to Christmas. A couple years ago, I took my family on a vacation and we went to Lake Tahoe, and Lake Tahoe is beautiful. We were so excited about our vacation there. And as we were coming around the mountain, the last little dip before you go into Tahoe, our car broke down. And we're like, this is just wonderful timing. Right on the side of the road, we pull over and we have to call a tow truck that comes and gets us and takes the car to the shop to get fixed, drops us off at the hotel. And we're like, okay, well, hopefully they can fix the car while we are on vacation at the hotel. So we went through the week, incredible vacation, incredible time. And we get to the end of it, which means the hotel is done being paid for, but the car's not done yet. And so we're like, we have a problem because I don't have any money left to pay for more nights at the hotel, but the car's not done. And so I called up a guy that was interning for me at a church that I worked at, and he was living in Reno, which is a little over an hour away from Tahoe. I said, can you come pick us up? So he comes and picks us up, and we go to stay at his house. Okay, we scheduled a beautiful vacation in Tahoe, and I ended up in Reno. Now, I'm not hating on Reno, but it's not where I originally scheduled my vacation. You know what I'm saying? It's not my idea of a nice place to be hanging out. And so as we're in Reno and we're at their house, I have a choice to make, right? I'm like, I don't really want to be here. But the choice that I have to make is, do I just sit here and waste the time that I'm here? Or do I kind of explore? Do I take the family around? Do we make the best of the time that we have with where we're at? So I think the question that I have for you is this. The question is, what if God has put you exactly where he wants you for a reason? Wherever you find yourself in life, what if God has put you exactly where he wants you for a reason? When I was in college, if you guys know my story, I played baseball growing up, and I played baseball at a junior college in San Diego. And when I played baseball there, my goal was to play at the next level, to play at a four-year university. And I had the opportunity to sign with a four-year university. And when I did that, I'm like, man, I arrived. I made it. I've been working towards this my whole life, and I've crossed the finish line. I've done it. I've made it. And what I was sorely mistaken on, what I did not understand, is that that's when the real work started. I hadn't crossed the finish line. That's not when it was over. I didn't arrive. That's when the real work started. And I think for some of us, when it comes to our faith journey, for some of us, when it comes to our faith journey, we put our faith and trust in Jesus and we cross the finish line because we're now a child of God. And we've made it. We got to get into heaven free card, and we've made it. We've crossed the finish line. And what you need to realize is you just crossed the starting line. That's it. When you said yes to Jesus, when you became a part of his family, you didn't arrive. You didn't make it. You just began the journey. You just entered into the mission that God has given you. This is when the real work starts. It's not just showing up to church. It's not just coasting through. It's saying, man, yes, I'm a follower of Jesus, which means that I've been put on mission. All right, here we call it kingdom mission. It's living out kingdom mission wherever you find yourself. That's what you've on. That's where when you said yes to Jesus, yes, Jesus, I want, because of your death on the cross, I want to be a part of your family. And you've been adopted into his family, saying, awesome, you're now on kingdom mission. Kingdom mission is finding yourself wherever you're at. It's loving the people around you, man. Would people around you say that you're loving? And it's serving. Are you serving the people around you? Are you taking your time and saying, hey, I want to serve others with my time? Right? It's giving. We just talked for weeks about the generous life. Your time, your talent, your treasure, your finances, to say, hey, I want to give these things, because that's what kingdom mission does, is it gives. It's giving. Right? It's sharing. Are you sharing Jesus with the people around you? Because if you're on kingdom mission, you're sharing Jesus. Right? It's inviting. It's saying, hey, would you come check it out? I want to invite you to my church. I want to invite you to check out what Jesus is doing. That's what kingdom mission is. And that's the mission that every single one of us has been called to. If you're a follower of Jesus, you haven't crossed the finish line. You crossed the starting line, and it's your job to live on kingdom mission. It's your job to push the mission forward, because wherever you find yourself is an opportunity to fulfill the mission. If you're taking notes today, write this down. Your circle is often your assignment. Your circle is often your assignment. We're going to be in the Old Testament today, and we're at the time of Xerxes, who ruled over 127 provinces. A massive rule for King Xerxes at this time is he's over 127 provinces. He had a lot of power. And at this time, the Jewish people, they're in captivity in Susa, under King Xerxes. Now, King Xerxes, with all the power that he has, King Xerxes can do kind of whatever he wants. And so one day, King Xerxes, he summons his queen. His queen, I'm going to summon you. And the queen goes, no, I'm not going. I don't want to come see you. And so this made King Xerxes pretty upset, because he's like, you don't know who I am? I'm King Xerxes. I'm over 127 provinces. I said, come, you come. And she's like, nope. And so he's like, we got a problem. All right, so he got his wise counsel together. Okay, I say wise counsel because all this dude did is all he did. He brought his boys together, and he was like, hey, we got a problem. Right? Like, I picture it like this. He's in the garage with a pack of Coors Light, right? And he's like, hey, come on over. We need to talk. All right, we need to talk. He got his boys together, right? He gathered as many idiots as he could to come up with some great ideas. And why I say that is this, Esther chapter 1, verse 19. It says, therefore, this is their great advice, ready? Therefore, if it pleases the king, let him issue a royal decree, and let it be written in the laws of Persia and Media, which cannot be repealed. No one can take this away. That Vashti, right, the queen Vashti, is never again to enter the presence of King Xerxes. Also, right, I see him like take another sip, and he's like, also, let the king give her royal position to someone else who is better than she. Right, I can picture him in the garage. He like punctuates it. He throws the dart at the dartboard, and he's like, give it to someone else, right? And the king, obviously, he's sitting there with his boys. He called all the idiots together, and he's like, I love that idea. That's great. Get rid of her. And then he's like, now I'm kind of lonely. I don't know what to do now. So you know what he did? He called the boys back together. He's like, boys, I need another brilliant idea. Come give me something. I got another 30-pack. Come on over. All right, so he gets there, and Esther chapter 2, verse 2, it says this, then the king's personal attendants proposed this. Let a search be made for beautiful young virgins for the king. Let the king appoint commissioners in every province of his realm to bring all these beautiful young women into the harem at the citadel of Susa. Let them be placed under the care of Haggai, the king's eunuch, who's in charge of the women, and let beauty treatments be given to them. Then let the young women who pleases the king be the queen instead of Vashti. And you know what the king did? He's like, brilliant idea. I love that. All the beautiful women of the town, that's amazing. Of the whole province, everywhere we find them, right? He says this advice appealed to the king and he followed it. No, duh, he followed it. Right? Did you hear the advice of the boys? They were like, hey, go find all the pretty ladies, every one of them, and then you can pick the one you want. And he's like, great idea. Of course he followed it. He's like, that's brilliant. So at this time, there's this guy, his name is Mordecai. And Mordecai, he adopted this lady named Esther. And Esther became his daughter, and Esther became one of the people that was in this beauty contest, right? She was a very attractive young woman, and she became a part of what they were doing. And so King Xerxes was like, okay, this is a part of the lineup of people I see, and this is what we see in Esther chapter 2, verse 17. Now the king was attracted to Esther more than to any of the other women, and she won his favor and approval more than any of the other virgins. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. She wins the beauty contest. And Esther goes from just being Mordecai's daughter, just a Jewish person living in this community, member living in captivity, to all of a sudden being the queen. All right, and so during this time, then Mordecai, I heard Mordecai gets into some trouble, right? But not some bad trouble, some good trouble. I mean, the consequences are bad because he was going to get killed. But the reason he got into trouble is because he wouldn't bow down to the second in command, whose name was Haman. Haman, who's the second in command, goes, hey, you got to bow down to me. And Mordecai's like, hey, I'm not going to do that because I worship God, I don't worship you. And so the second in command guy, he gets a little upset. He gets a little upset because he didn't do what he asked him to do. And so he goes to the king and he goes, Xerxes, we got a problem. Because this dude over here, Mort, right? Mort didn't bow down. And he's like, so I want to kill Mort. But not just Mort, I want to kill all of his people too. The Jewish people, AKA God's chosen people. All right, so now we got a problem. And so Mort is going, okay, we got a big problem here. Not only want to kill me, but they want to kill all my people, and we got to do something about it. And then he remembers what Esther's position is. So he goes to Esther. He goes to Esther and he tells her all about the problem. And he's going, hey, this second in command wants to come kill me and I don't know what to do because now he's going to kill all of God's people and we got to do something about this. And she goes, hey, hold up. Dude, what am I supposed to do about it? Do you remember the last queen who just didn't come when she was called and all of a sudden she was gone? Like, how am I supposed to stop this big deal? And so Mort gives her a pep talk. He's like, okay, yeah, this isn't going to work. Let me give you a pep talk then. Okay, and this is what he says. In Esther chapter 4, verse 12. When Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, he sent back this answer. He said, do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. He says this, and who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. For such a time as this. Man, that's important. I want you to remember that. For such a time as this. And so Esther, she goes to the king. She goes to King Xerxes and she tries to set up this banquet with him and the second in command, right? This Haman guy, this guy who's a mess. All right, now there's a lot of details that go on in this story that I would love for you to read. You can go to Esther and you can read more about it, but I got like 15 minutes to unpack the entire book of Esther. So you can read the details for yourself. There's some more things there. But she goes and she asks for this banquet to happen. And so this banquet happens with them. And when Esther is there, she asks for her people to be spared. She says, this is the decree that went out. This is what Haman tricked Xerxes into to send out to kill all these people. And she goes, can this be repealed? Can this be taken away? And so he takes away that. He spared her people. And then the second in command, Haman, the bad guy, he got what was coming to him. Again, there's a lot of details there that you need to go read. But he got what was coming to him. He got what was coming to him instead. And this is what it says in Esther 8, verse 11. The king's edict granted the Jews in every city the right to assemble and to protect themselves, to destroy, kill, and annihilate the armed men of any nationality or province who might attack them and their women and children, and to plunder the property of their enemies. And he's going, hey, you can defend yourself. If these attacks come against you, you can defend yourself. He's saying you don't have to just roll over and take it. You don't just have to be killed. All right, he issues this decree, but that's not all. Haman, the bad guy, he takes his position away and then he gives it to Mordecai instead, right? This is what it says in Esther chapter 8, verse 15. When Mordecai left the king's presence, he was wearing royal garments of blue and white, a large crown of gold, and a purple robe of fine linen. And the city of Susa held a joyous celebration. For the Jews, it was a time of happiness and joy, gladness and honor. See, Esther found herself in a place. Esther found herself in a position. Esther found herself around people where she had a choice to make. Do I just float through, or do I use where God has put me for his purpose? And Esther in that moment realized, man, the place that I am, the position that I hold, the people that I'm around, you guys have places where you're at, right? Your job is a place where you find yourself. You find yourself in this place. That's your job. That's where you find yourself. Some of you find yourself at a school. Your school is where you find yourself, right? Your neighborhood is where you find yourself. It's the place you're at. Right? Some of you parents, you find yourself at school pickup and it's not where you want to be. Like, this place is terrible, but that's where you're at. As you have positions that you hold. Some of you, when it comes to your employment, you have positions that you hold within your job. Some of you hold positions like you're like the HOA president, right? If that's you, you need to chill out. I'm just telling you right now. If that's you, you need to chill the heck out, especially if you live in my neighborhood. Just chill out, all right? Some of you hold positions. Maybe you're a coach. I don't know what position you hold, but you hold a position, and God has put you there for a reason, right? You are around people. There are people that you rub shoulders with, whether it's just the other parents on the soccer team, whether it's the people that you work with, your neighbors, wherever you find yourself, you are in a place, and I need you to know that you are there for a reason. Just like Esther said, man, where I'm at and where God has placed me is exactly where God wants me. And you know why? Because you are the only one that can do that mission. The place that you've been put, that's your mission, and only you can live that mission. When I was younger, I worked for an excavation company, and when I was working for them, there was different positions, and I was a laborer, which meant that I held a shovel while everyone else got to do cool things in giant machines and got to do cool things in the great equipment because they were certified, because they went through the training. And I would be there with my shovel, and I would look at their cool machinery, and I would be like, man, just walking close to it. And my foreman would come over, and he's like, I don't think so, buddy. You pick your shovel up and get back over there, right? I'm like, but I just want to be there. I just want to do that. And he's like, no, that's not your job, man. This is your job. See, I think some of you, when it comes to you living on kingdom mission, you look at other people's positions and you go, but if I was in their position, I could really make a difference. But if I lived their life, then something could actually happen. And listen, you need to understand that God has put you where he's put you for a reason. That's your job, and no one else can live it. What I mean is this: I can't walk into your work or your job and start sharing Jesus with your coworkers. You know why? That's weird. They'd be like, listen, get that bald guy out of here. That's weird. What's he doing? But you can do that, just like you guys can't go hang out with the whole Embry-Riddle baseball team, but I can because I coach there and that's my job. That's not yours, that's mine. Just like your mission is not my mission. God has put you on a mission, and he's put you around people, and he's given you a position, and he's put you in a place for a reason. And here's the thing: you might not even like where you're at. You're like, I don't even know how I ended up here. I don't want to be where I am. You might not even like where you're at, but I know why you're there. For such a time as this. You know, we live in a time and a generation where people are coming to Jesus more than we've seen in hundreds of years. Where people are open to the gospel. Where people are coming, and this is all across the country, where people are interested in it. We're seeing people influential on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, that were living a very public, sinful life, that are now going to Jesus, that are now opening their Bible, that are reading to their millions of followers and saying, hey, I think Jesus is the answer. It's not the parties, it's not the sexuality, it's not the things that I've been chasing, but Jesus is the answer, and that's the time that we're living in. You've been put where you're at for such a time as this. That's why you're here. That's why you exist, is for the kingdom mission that God has put you on. And your circle is yours. It's only yours, which makes what you do in your circle, which makes what you do with your opportunity so important, because it's only yours. If you're taking notes, write this down. God often uses natural relationships to create spiritual impact. God often uses natural relationships to create spiritual impact. We like to think of people that are in the position they're at like they've always been there. We don't remember their past, right? We think of athletes and we're like, you've just always been at a professional level. And there was a process before that. We think of that when it comes to Christians, pastors on stage, or even famous Christians. The most famous Christian probably of our generation is Billy Graham. Billy Graham would pack out stadiums and he would preach the gospel, and hundreds of thousands of people came to Jesus because of Billy Graham. Billy Graham wasn't always a Christian. He was a farm boy. And one of the farm hands on his farm invited him to church, and that's where he met Jesus. C.S. Lewis, one of the greatest minds of our generation or of any generation when it comes to Christian thought. C.S. Lewis wanted nothing to do with Christianity, wanted nothing to do with God, but he had friends that were persistent with him. In fact, his quote that C.S. Lewis says, he says that I was the most reluctant convert in England. He's like, you can't get me. But he had a bunch of friends that were persistent, that wouldn't give up. And he met Jesus. There's a guy named Craig Groeschel, and Craig Groeschel was a college athlete and a frat guy. And he was friends with a sorority girl, and the sorority girl invited him to church, and he met Jesus. And now, currently, right now, as we speak, he's a pastor of one of the largest churches in the world. Because their friends decided that their circle, that their natural relationships could have spiritual impact. They said, hey, I'm just going to invite you. I'm just going to have you come check it out. I mean, I love this when Jesus is walking around and he's calling his disciples. He's calling his disciples and he's like, hey, come follow me. Hey, come follow me. And he meets this guy named Andrew, and Andrew starts following Jesus. He starts hearing about Jesus. He starts staying with Jesus. And then immediately, this is what it says he does. In John chapter 1, verse 40, it says, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who heard what John had said and who had followed Jesus. And then it says the first thing Andrew did, he didn't go to church and go, I'm just going to sit here. I got to make sure I know everything first. I'm just going to wait. I just got to check it off my list and go to church every Sunday for the rest of my life. No. What do you do? First thing he did was he was to find his brother Simon and tell him, we have found the Messiah, that is the Christ. We found him. I love that. And then what does he say? And he brought him to Jesus. He's like, hey, we found him. I'm going to tell you about this, and then I want to bring you to see him. I want to invite you to come check him out. This is what he does. And what he does that I think is so beautiful is Andrew's ministry. He meets Jesus and then immediately he starts in ministry, right? Because when you meet Jesus, then you're put on kingdom mission. And when he was on kingdom mission, what did he do? He didn't start with strangers. Right? We have this weird picture of evangelism. We got to go to a street corner, right? We got our box. We got to set our box up, and we got to get on our box and make sure our sign tells everyone they're going to hell, and we got to get a bullhorn, and we got to yell at everyone, right? Because that's evangelism. And that's a picture we have in our head. All right, sometimes we think it's a program. We go, oh, no, listen, you need to do evangelism. How come this church doesn't do evangelism? We need to go down to the Prescott Square every Friday night. We need to go have random conversations with people because that's evangelism. No, it's not. Yeah, that's telling people about Jesus, but you need to understand that's not what evangelism is. If it starts with the natural relationships that you have, what did Andrew do? He went straight to his brother. The natural relationships you have can have spiritual impact. Right? Who has God placed next to you? It's important, and here's why, because 75 to 90% of Christians say that they came to faith because of a friend or family member. That's almost all of them. That's almost all of you in this room. Think about it. You came to faith because of a friend or family member. That's why you're where you're at right now. Right? The statistics are in our favor. This is crazy. 80% of non-churchgoers say that they would go to church if someone that they knew invited them. We're afraid to invite because we're like, what if they say no? But the statistics say that 8 out of 10 of them are just waiting for you to invite them. 8 out of 10 of them are going, man, if someone that I know invites me, yeah, I'll go. But here's the sad part. Church, this is not okay. Is that most Christians don't know anyone who's not a Christian. Our statistics say that 27%, that's 1 out of 4 of us, say they don't know a non-believer at all. And the statistic goes even further than that and says 80% of Christians say that they don't have a close relationship with non-Christians. They don't have a close relationship with non-Christians. We insulate ourselves, we isolate ourselves, we go, okay, the world is so bad, I gotta insulate, I gotta isolate, I gotta move away from, and then we don't know anybody that we can shine our light to because there's nobody around us. He said, you are a light, don't hide your light, go shine your light, go tell people about Jesus, but if you don't know anyone who doesn't know Jesus, you can't tell them about Jesus. Listen, I'm not telling you to get in with the wrong crowd. I'm not telling you to be influenced by them. I'm not telling you to be dragged down by them, but I'm telling you this. If you don't know anyone who's not a follower of Jesus, you're not living on the kingdom mission that God has put you on. I'm going to say something that's going to make some of you pretty mad. If that's you and you don't know anyone that's not a follower of Jesus, you're living in sin. I know that upsets some of you, but here's the truth. Sin is disobeying what God has said. And when God has said, go and make disciples, when God has said, hey, listen, I want you to be a light, when he said, hey, use your natural relationships to make spiritual impact, he's saying the people in your circle, the people around you are people that you can go and use your influence with, because your influence is strongest with those who know you, with those you know. That's where your influence is the strongest, with those that you know. And for some of you, just that sentence freaks you out because you're like, uh-oh, if they know who I am, they're not going to want to come to church. Then you probably need to change the way you live. Right? If you invite someone and they go, oh man, if you're a Christian, then I don't want to be a Christian, then you probably need to change the way you live. Because the truth is that your influence is strongest with those who know you. So are you living in a way that those who know you want what you have? Are you living in a way where they see your light and go, man, I need some of that light? Okay, Todd, I get it. We're supposed to invite people, but why does it matter so much? Why does it matter so much? Here's why. Because we have good news. Not just good news. We have the greatest news the world has ever heard, because these angels showed up. And these angels announced that this baby was born, and it was a party, and it was incredible, but that baby did not stay a baby. That baby grew into a man who never sinned, who did what you and I could never do. We mess up daily. We mess up hourly. Some of you have sinned 10 times just sitting here right now. Jesus never sinned. But Jesus willingly went to a cross for you. And he said, I know you can't do it on your own because of your sin, but because I've never sinned, I will go on a cross for you. And he stood in my place and he stood in your place. And Jesus died on a cross for your sin, and that is good news. But just dying on a cross, there was a lot of people that died on a cross. Jesus didn't stay dead. Jesus rose from the dead. And when he rose from the dead, he conquered sin, he conquered death, and he made a way for you to have a relationship with God forever. And that is good news. That's why this matters. That's why where you have been placed matters. That's why your circle matters. That's why wherever you find yourself is so important, because we have good news that we want to share to the world that desperately needs it. And church, you have been placed wherever you have been placed for such a time as this. So who's in your circle? Who's in your circle? As you leave today, you're going to be given this. It looks like a Barbie newspaper, right? My kids are going to play Barbies with it later. It says Heights Church News, and it says good news. And then there's lines here. What these lines are for you to write names of people that are in your circle that God is bringing to your heart, bringing to your mind, that is your mission to bring with you to Christmas. This is your ticket out. You can't leave today until you get one of these. They're going to be at the doors. You're going to get it on your way out, and you can't leave until you get one. And I want you to take time to think through, who is God putting on your heart? Who is God placed in front of you? Because of the place that you're at, because of the position you hold, because of the people you're with, who has God put on your heart that you're saying, I'm going to write their name down. I'm going to pray for these people. I'm going to invite these people. I want you to write their names down. I want you to keep it in front of you. I want you to put it in a visible place in your house, in your car, where you see it, where you are reminded that this is your mission and God has put you where he wants you for a reason. For such a time as this. Let's pray. God, thank you so much. God, that you choose to use us. God, you don't need us, but you choose to use us, God. God, thank you that you sent your son, that we celebrate the good news of your son coming this Christmas. But God, there's so much more than that. It's that you sent him to save the world. Lord, we thank you. We praise you for that. God, we are so grateful for salvation. We're grateful that you allow us to be a part of your story. God, I pray that you would give us courage, that you, through your Spirit right now, would lay names on our minds, God, that you would lay the people on our hearts that you want us to reach out to, that you want us to participate in mission with. God, that you would give us boldness to live on kingdom mission. We praise you, Jesus. We are so grateful for everything that you've given us, everything that you've blessed us with. God, I pray that we would be generous with it. We love you, Jesus. We pray this in your name. Amen.